You're back on the record. Go ahead. Dr. Santilli, good afternoon. You know that you're still under oath this afternoon,
Yes,
correct?
I confirm, yes.
Yes, okay. We were talking just before the lunch break about Professor Kadiashvili. There came a time when you received an email from Pepijn van Erp asking about Professor Kadiashvili, correct?
I received so many emails.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you recall ever hearing from Pepijn van Erp in any form about Professor Kadiashvili?
Honestly, I received so many emails that I became aware of the existence of Van Erp and his attack only recently, because I have been my life, and many people near me can testify, I am a scientist and I'm interested in science. I never pay attention to people attack me. So, and I completely, they were telling me, Ruggero, be careful, they're in Dutch, they're attacking you. I said, oh, they have so many. So I became aware, so I don't even remember those emails.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I swear to the God, I don't remember those emails. I received so many.
Okay. Let's look at Exhibit V102, please. I've given a copy to Mr. Parrish also.
Thank you.
See if you recognize this email, Dr. Santilli.
Can you read it for me, please?
Yes. The title is Request for Information about Professor Kadiashvili. It looks like it's alleging that it's from Pepijn van Erp. It's got an email address next to it, and then it says to board@santilli-foundation.org, and then also to basic-research@i-b-r.org. And then it's an email that says, Dear Sir or Madam. Would you like me to read it into the record for him?
Please, because
Okay.
I'm curious to know the content. Usually
Sure.
I ignore these things.
Sure. It says, Dear Sir or Madam, I plan to write an article about different theories concerning HHO gas. Of course, this cannot pass without giving attention to Mr. Santilli's article, A New Gaseous and Combustible Form of Water in the International Journal of Hydrogen, Volume 31, 2006. This article received a harsh attack by Professor Kahlo in the same journal, but was defended by Martin O. Klunin and J. Vladimir Kadiashvili. About almost all the persons involved in this discussion, I can find plenty of information, but I find it difficult to get some background of Professor Kadiashvili, who wrote the article Rebuttal of J. M. Kahlo's Comments on R. M. Santilli's HHO paper. Then there's a next paragraph. The next paragraph says, As he is connected to the Institute for Basic Research, I assume that you can easily get me his CV, publication list, and perhaps a photograph which I can use for my article. If possible, can you also provide me his email address so that I can connect to him directly? Your help would be most welcome. With kind regards, Pepijn van Erp.
Now that it's been read, do you recognize that email, Dr. Santilli?
I don't remember. I
Okay.
received so many of those.
Do you receive emails that are sent to board@santilli-foundation.org?
No, unless they were forwarded to me because they're pertinent to me, yes. Some of them are forwarded by others because they want comments. In this case, we receive many of this. Many of this. This is clearly looks like the intention to harm, as indeed eventually came out.
In the email is dated April 2012.
Incidentally, we certainly do not release information on the private information on the lives of individual location. Certainly, this would be preposterous to expect that the U.S. Foundation releases private information. So this, I'm certain, this thing was trashed.
So
instantly trashed.
But you did eventually put Professor Kadiashvili's CV on your website, correct?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
But not because he's asked private information. It was all sorts of information on this gentleman.
Okay.
He comes from a war devastated country. You ask information on? I mean, it's preposterous. This smells rotten miles away. I'm sure the foundation will instantly trash this information. This is not science. This is not science. This is dirt.
Who in April of 2012 received emails that went to board@santilli-foundation.org?
I have no idea.
Okay. How about the basic research at i-b-r.org address? Who handled that?
This is my what is called my scientific email,
Okay.
which people address me. The recent version is research@i-b-r.org. Is my scientific known by everybody. But since I have every day hundreds of emails and from science, IBR, and Thunder Energy, I mean, I have to run a public company. Often I have a secretary review them and make them. The secretary usually does a scan to see which are the important ones. The others, they have authority to trash them without even showing them to me. I don't have time unless, if it is something scientific, yes, I'm interested.
Okay.
If it is unethical or just scheme, I have no interest. Are my answers sufficiently short?
Thank you.
Almost. Could be shorter.
Who is Dr. George F. Weiss?
Oh, oh my God. Was an editorial manager, if I remember well, of Algebra Group and Geometry. He died many, many years ago. You have, why you have digged everything in my past, try to locate something that will justify accusation of fraud, accusation of a pyramid scheme, justify. Do you feel confident to do this type of work, Mr. Lake?
Let me ask you
is this pertinent to the lawsuit?
Dr. Santilli, let me ask you to look at document V103 and see if you recognize it. I have a copy for Mr. Parrish.
What is this? Could you read it for me?
Sure.
Please?
And in case it helps, just to put things in context, I have a series of emails regarding Mr. Van Erp's requests for Dr. Kadiashvili's CV. So that's what we're going to be going through here.
I can tell you right away, all of them have been trashed out, or whatever answer very brutally. But if he has received any answer, it was a negative and strong answer.
Dr. Santilli, this is alleged to be an email. It says, it's again, the subject line says request for information about Professor Kadiashvili, and then it has to Pepijn Van Erp and Martin Clunen.
Could you please tell me what the originator of this email was?
Yes, and it looks like it was sent by, well, it says
George Weiss.
Yeah, it says George Weiss back in April 2nd of 2012. So it looks like George Weiss was writing on behalf of the Institute for Basic Research. It does look like he used the email basicresearch@i-b-r.org as his email.
That is correct. That was the email at that time was the email of the editorial office of Algebra Group and Geometry. That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So I recognize the email. I remember this gentleman. He was not here. He was, I think, was somewhere in New York, living somewhere. You know, the editorial work is done, scattered all over the world.
Okay, so that's what the identification of this email. That's what that is.
Okay, and I know it's fairly lengthy, so let me just describe portions of it to you. And obviously, if Mr. Parrish would like to read more to you, that's fine too.
Tell me the point, please.
Yes, that's what I'd like to do. The subject line, I'm sorry, not the subject line, the salutation says, "Dear Mr. Pepijn Van Erp," and then the first line of text says, "We would gladly cooperate not only by putting you in touch with Professor Kadiashvili, who is interested in direct exchange with you, but also to provide you samples of similar gases." And then it goes on to say, again, to get to the point, "We also request the email of," the next paragraph begins, "However, before doing so, we want to know who are you, perhaps by providing us your CV." In other words, so this email is
very
asking,
logical, very logical request.
Okay. This email is asking for the CV of Mr. Van Erp. With that additional information, do you recall being involved in preparing this response?
I have no recollection whatsoever, none, unless it carries my signature.
Okay.
There are things, so many things. If I had to interfere on a running of the scientific journal, as I was doing so many other things, is totally outside the reality, and it is insidious even to suspect it.
Okay.
Am I okay? Incidentally, I think he died, George Weiss. He was an older man. I think he died soon. Again, Attorney Lake, I see no connection between Kaidishvili and the slander, the accusation of fraud, stupidity, pyramid scheme, fraud, and so on. I see no connection whatsoever. What you are asking, and none. If you have any, and you will tell us, will be appreciated. You will be respected for that.
Let me show you a document we're marking V104. And to put this in context, I'll represent to you that this is what I understand is in computer terminology is called a text version of the two messages we've just looked at. So you'll see the same text, but there's information about the source of the email at the top, and we can talk about that, please.
Can I say it, please?
Yes, absolutely. And I have a copy for
This
Mr.
is the
Parrish.
the full heading.
There you go,
Yeah,
the
that's
full
correct.
heading.
Oh
Thank
yes,
you.
I recognize. I'm very familiar with
Okay.
this. Oh yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. You can help me with it then.
Absolutely, yes.
I would only object to this document as being some sort of technical
No, I understand.
coding at the top.
Yeah,
and-
No, this seems to be
and
real.
Right,
guys,
so-
Sorry.
thank you. Some coding at the top, and there's been no technical person to identify what that coding means, and that this is hearsay at this point.
Well, I disagree. The document was produced some time ago to you. It has a Bates number on it. But in any event,
Can I-
objections on the record.
Am I allowed to make a comment?
Well, he'll ask you a question.
Can I take a copy of this or not?
We'll have a copy.
Because our IT is going to.
No, come, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Attorney Lake. Please,
Thank
let's move forward.
Yes, thank you. And just to orient you to the document, Dr. Santilli, and again, we may ask Mr. Parrish for some help on this. The first page, is, bottom third roughly, is the text Mr. Van Erp wrote that we read a moment ago, that Mr. Parrish read a moment ago. I plan to write an article, etc. And then on the next page, page 2 is Dr. Weiss's response.
Yeah. Go to the point, please.
Yes. If you look at the first page where the header
This
information.
one, yes, the header, yes. The full header.
And Mr. Parrish can perhaps help with this. I'd like to count down 12 lines
Yes.
to the portion that begins received from 65.35.151.112.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then in parentheses, there's the phrase HELO, Ruggero-Santilli's-MacBook-Pro.local.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I guess my question is, was your MacBook, did you have a MacBook Pro in 2012?
Very likely, yes.
Okay. And so does it appear from this document that your computer was used to send the response to Mr. Van Erp's request?
Objection.
No,
Form of the
objection.
question.
No, this is absolutely, this is the case in which I should ask for the participants. Your point is very well taken, as usual, Attorney Parrish. Those are things to be. I should stop and ask the intervention of IT company, and we have a number of them. That first of all, whatever is in here. This we are on a network. Let me tell you, we work with a very advanced system which is called VPN. Mark it down. VPN system for outgoing email, and SEA system for ingoing email. Let me here the spelling I prepared for you, so you can correct this. Those are initial, very very important, and very important. And then this the ESP has to be a system, has to be mentioned for the IP. Okay, so we have a network of systems. So it's like you go to the University of Harvard University. The first telephone number is the phone of the president, and then all the others are derived because there is a main line and it goes back. So if you look at all the statistics of the phone that I had at Harvard, I had President Bock. It doesn't mean that I was using President Bock phone. This is exactly the same thing, and this has no value whatsoever unless analyzed by expert in IP, and it's very insidious on your part to ask to a scientist. I'm not an expert. I have some knowledge, but I'm not an expert in the field. So your question is very insidious and very questioned.
We noticed that in the signature block, George Weiss, editorial manager, says, lists the address 35246 US 19 North. I think earlier in earlier depositions we've been told there's not actually a physical office there. That's a UPS or other mail facility, correct?
At that time, I think so. Before that, there was a post office box in Palm Harbor.
Okay. Okay.
This was scientific, huge post office boxes, normal.
And I think I told us a moment ago, George Weiss worked where? Where was he physically located?
I don't know. He was up in Northwest. Certainly, never came. We met perhaps sometime. No.
Not in Palm Harbor.
No, never came to Palm Harbor.
So he would have never had occasion to use your MacBook Pro, correct?
But he was on a network. It was a network.
Right.
The network could be everywhere.
But he did not type this message on your MacBook Pro to your
Not to
knowledge.
my recollection, no.
Okay.
Not to my recollection. It could be
Okay, thank you.
However, you must have. However, he had also a local secretary located. I don't even remember her name. So it's possible that sometime he had written some letter, sent it by phone or something, and then the secretary may have issued a letter in his name. This is also pretty normal in editorial work. I repeat. In editorial work, an editor can dictate a letter to the secretary, and the secretary will issue the letter out of the main office in the name of the editor. This is perfectly normal in editorial work.
And the secretary might have used your MacBook Pro to do that?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. She was looking at all my emails, scanning what I was supposed to look and what to trash them immediately because
Manigas time.
It was Manigas. We were pushing the company all the way to NASDAQ, and we could not be after this all that trash.
Okay. Let me show you an email also from April 2nd, 2012. We'll mark it V105. I have a
Can we accelerate this process?
I have a copy for Mr. Parrish.
It is the same as before, or is another email from Van Herk? What is it?
Actually, I believe this email, and Mr. Parrish can help us if he'd like, is from a basic research at IBR.org to Pepijn van Herk. And
can you read it, please? Because I don't want to know the content.
Sure. It's the same, excuse me, same subject matter heading. It's got an alleged email address, basic research at i-b-r.org.
Yes.
To Pepijn van Herk. Yes. Alleged email, and Martin Clunan.
Yes. I recognize, sorry if I interrupt, I recognize this is the VPN system for outgoing and the SEA system for incoming. Yes, I recognize that email. But it's a very wide use, used by editor all over the world, used by many.
Okay, and it looks like it was, it's alleged to have been sent, or at least signed electronically by, well, it says GR and then George F. Weiss.
And what the message says?
It is a PS Jim, do you want this read into the record? Or are you asking questions about the content of the...
You know, it's brief enough. Dr. Santilli asked if you wouldn't mind reading it for him. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
It says, P.S. I forgot to alert you that the publication of any scientifically motivated criticisms on Professor Santilli, new species of HHO, will be received appreciation and respect, but you must be made aware that no ways, following the millions of dollars of investment in the field, any scientifically unmotivated support of Mr. Kahlo trash will very likely meet response in court because, unlike equivocal academians solely surviving on equivocal grounds, industrialists hit hard when unjustly damaged in their pockets.
Bravo, George. Bravo, George. That's why we are in court. Indeed, he predicted that we'll end up in court as we are.
Right, and then
Bravo to his memory. Yes.
and then the second
Sorry for the emotion.
the second paragraph says, to be straight, rather than defending your body guy Kahlo, you will drag him into a lawsuit for blatant scientific corruption. Lawsuit certainly not, in capital letters, filed by me or by Professors Santilli, Clunin, and Kladisvili, but by the investors to defend their money.
Indeed, that's why I did not sue Kahlo, because it was not my, it was the people who had been damaged primarily, had been the stockholders. Bravo, George, guys, to his memory. I remove my hat to his memory.
Okay. You can leave that there. So you, obviously, from your enthusiasm, you agree with this message.
Of course, I agree entirely. This was a decent person, attacking foreigners, interfering in American industries for very unethical purposes.
At this point, all you knew, though, was that Mr. Van Erp had asked for a copy of the CV, correct?
Objective form.
I mean, you hadn't read any articles by Mr. Van Erp at this point, had you?
What article? He never wrote an article in his life. Please, Tony Parish, this is very, very, I cannot accept that.
Okay.
He never wrote, he's illiterate, never completed any education, and he never wrote any article. By articles means something respectable published in a credible journal. He has only published in blogs. So I object strongly to the word article.
As of April 2012, you had not read anything written by Pepijn Van Erp to your knowledge, had you?
That is,
Objective form.
go ahead, Tony.
No, I'm objecting to the form.
I don't know the date, but I know that for years and years, this is going on. There are attacks by Israel first, and then this puppet, I don't say puppet, but his employee or whatever, associate, Van Erp, this is going on for 7 years, to my recollection. I only I became aware only recently because the pressure from stockholders were mounting and mounting, so I had to start to wake up to the case. And for years and years, I completely ignored. I had so many of this trash, so only when you know the damage, the financial damage caused by this man to the stockholders of Magna Gas Corporation first, and then more recently when it repeated the damage. You heard the testimonial of Scott Wainwright. He has blood against everybody on this situation. I think you heard him. How he's really upset. He represents some of the investors in Stockholm. So only after I was exposed by pressure from the investors who were investing money in my science, then I had to wake up to this field, because it is indeed nothing but. Go ahead. You are their supporter.
In April 2012, was Richard Anderson a trustee of the R.M. Santilli Foundation?
I don't remember. I am not affiliated to the. I cannot be affiliated to a foundation carrying my name.
Okay. Do you know anyone named Richard Anderson?
I have no knowledge about his identity. I never asked the birth certificate to anybody. Never asked. Mr. Lake, is Lake your name? There are rumors that your real name is Rosenberg. Do you accept or deny?
You know, normally witnesses aren't allowed to ask questions, but I'll answer that one. My name is not Rosenberg. My name is Lake.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you. I said rumors, not my idea.
Okay.
No,
not that I would have a problem being named Rosenberg, but to answer your question, my name is Lake.
I appreciate this spell, because it's what helped me in my life. Because I'm under very pressure, so this helps me to avoid totally unnecessary. So I never ask a name, even if I told you a name of Richard's name, such as Andrew Logos. I have never seen his one thing. However, I have to say that it's a pseudonym because there are two things I must say. First of all, it is a pseudonym of a scientist, very respectful scientist, and you could not possibly put his real name because he will be instantly on the attack by this very vulgar attacks, and they would have lost his. And secondly, I have to state that he's not my son. My son, Ruggero Santilli, you deposed him. It's not Richard Santilli is not my son. It is evident for anybody in good faith, not those guys in the Netherlands. We're evident because my son has no capability to handle equations, while he has written a number of works on with this name, all full of equations from A to Z. There was no possibility for my son to write. So besides, my son runs an extremely complex, worldwide public company, and he has no time in this type of. And I don't want to use any French to indicate what those people from the Netherlands have done. That's all I want to say. And even assuming that I knew the actual identity of Richard Anderson, I will never disclose it over my life because I'm a loyal person to people who are decent.
Okay. So I think I understood your answer, the first part, to say Richard Anderson is a pseudonym. Is that what you said?
Yes, indeed. Of course, he could not. He would have been attacked instantly. Exactly, with this, with all sort of vulgar language.
And you know, I'm not asking you to tell me, but I'm just asking what you know. You know the name of the person who uses the pseudonym Richard Anderson?
As I mentioned to you, even if I tell you, it will mean nothing. It could be a pseudonym. Pseudonym covered by pseudonym, covered by pseudonym. Will have no value, no connection whatsoever to the slander and defamation that are the object of this. So Richard Anderson, nothing. Has never attacked, to my knowledge, I could be wrong. I've never attacked those guys. There's I've never had any involvement. So why you mention Richard Anderson? Why?
Let me show you V106, and I'll give a copy to Mr. Parrish as well. It's pretty short, so Mr. Parrish, if you wouldn't mind describing it to Dr. Santilli.
It's, again, an alleged email. It's got the subject line, request for information about Professor Katisvili. It says at the top, it looks like it's from, it's alleged to be from Santilli Foundation with an email address, board@santilli-foundation.org.
Yes, that's the correct board.
And then it's from, allegedly to Pepijn van Earp. It says, Professor Kahlo and Mr. Santilli, question mark, you are a wacko.
Who writes this?
And then it says, Richard Anderson, trustee, the R.M. Santilli Foundation.
What's the question? What's the connection with the lawsuit? Please explain, Mr. Lake. I don't see
Sure.
it.
This is part of the same email string we've just been discussing. And my first question is, do you recall anyone sending an email in response to Mr. Van Earp's request saying, Professor Kahlo and Mr. Santilli, question mark, you are a wacko?
Who stated so? I did not understand. I do not understand.
Who
made the statement?
What this document is alleging.
Is it a quotation or is it a statement? This has no value whatsoever because this can be a composite. This is zero value. In court, we will demolish this in front of a jury like this with experts. This will be a total fabrication to begin with. But apart from this fact, I'm extremely surprised that he presents totally the papers have no legal value whatsoever in the proceedings of the federal court, and I have some experience on it. Could you please tell me who made that statement?
Well, it's alleged down here to be
a statement by Anderson.
You gotta let me finish so that it comes out on the record, okay, Dr. Santilli?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's being alleged that this was sent by Richard Anderson, trustee, the R.M. Santilli Foundation.
So it's a statement by Anderson.
Well, that's what
Apparently,
they're trying to say that this document is.
So
And to be clear, we're not trying to say anything. I'm just asking questions.
What do you want from me about this?
Well, again, my question was
you want
simply,
from me?
do you recognize this document?
Never.
Okay.
No.
And let me ask another question. Do you recall anyone saying, I sent an email to Pepijn Bammer, told him you are a wacko?
No.
Okay.
I never corresponded with that. I remember.
No, I understand you didn't correspond, but I wondered if anyone told you I sent such an email.
No, we're involved with much more important things than be after this wacko.
Okay. But you'd agree he's a wacko?
Well, not no, if that's what Anderson stated, he must have his own reason. Not necessarily agree or disagree, but at least, there is a difference between the very slanderous and defamating word that Van Earth used against me and the word wacko, which is not so offensive as fraud and pyramid scheme and stupidity. Wacko is an American slang, as you know, that is very friendly. So it's not offensive. It's a difference. It should be on the record. We are a little bit above, a notch above that type of slander and defamation that you are continuing to ignore.
Let me show you V107, which again is a document that's been produced to you, but so the record's clear, this is I'm sorry, did I give you all a copy I had written my notes on? I don't think so.
There is some notes on top.
Yeah, let me give you this copy. This one's clean.
Nope, no problem.
Please, is this copy okay for
That's
me?
fine. Thank you, Dr. Santilli. And I apologize, Eddie, for stepping in front of the camera.
And I will again object to this document because it does have coding at the top. We haven't had any expert that has explained to us what this coding means.
Completely.
Nice.
Sorry.
And therefore we would object to the admission of this document in the deposition.
If you would, Dr. Santilli, or perhaps with Mr. Parrish's assistance, let me refer you to the middle of V107. I believe isn't that right? V107, yes. And you'll see there a line of text that says, Professor Callow and Mr. Santilli, 3 question marks, you are a wacko. So this is, again, a text version of the message that we talked about a moment ago, V106. And again, if you look at the header information and count down 12 lines, you'll get to one that says, received from 65.35.151.112, paren hello, Ruggero-Santilli's-MacBook-Pro.local. And so my question is, do you recall sending from your MacBook Pro this message saying you are a wacko?
Objective form.
The question is extremely insidious because it implies that it does not recognize that my computer was part of the network, number one. Number two, I am the primary contractor with Pair. So Pair mentions my name with every word of the Thunder. If you look at this, the same full heading of other emails from Thunder Energy or Dronic Press or they will show, my name is because it's primary contractor, I am the primary contractor with Pair. However, Attorney Parish, I'm addressing it to you, that at a trial we intend to bring IT professional, certified IT professional, and that will, just the presentation of this paper like this will be very damaging to the defense. It's my opinion. This has no value whatsoever per se. There's no evidence whatsoever. It will be everything composed to begin with. But assuming that it's true, has no evidence, does not identify my computer, absolutely. Does not even identify the location. Maybe if I check the date, I could have been at the Club Med in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, I could be everywhere.
So the answer to the question is you don't recall sending such an email?
Not to the, but it could have been sent by a secretary in my office. Okay. So you see, there is no way that you can frame this as being originating with me or with me. See, that's what you are. You're after something that to disqualify me so that you can justify the slander and accusation of fraud and defamation. But there is no legal, unless you have a tricky. But then in front of a jury, you're faced with a reality. No way that you can prove with this illegal piece of paper to them that I lie or stated something. No, because the complexity of life, network situation, secretaries, and I don't remember even myself. I would not been able to prove with to a level of the level of ethics requested by the lawsuit at the American Federal Court. I will not be able even to see myself what happened with this email. I will not.
Would you approve of a secretary sending an email?
It is normal.
I'm sorry, Dr. Santilli, please let me finish my question.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm sorry. Would
you approve of a secretary sending an email from your computer saying you are a wacko? It
depends on depends. Most of the sometimes this has happened with the secretary put their names and under the even stronger words under their name using my computer. Oh yes. When it is something to defend America or something for ethics, not only I did not object, I encouraged them. I encouraged my secretary.
Okay. Let me show you a document we've marked V108. And again, I'll give a copy to Mr. Parrish, who may help us with this. And my question, you're welcome to look through the whole thing. My questions are going to be about just the first paragraph.
This is what's alleged to be an email with the subject line "Earps Serious Science," but it's spelled C-I-E-N-C-E, or blabbling, question mark, question mark. And then it's got Kurtzy B. Katasvili as the name, but then the email is jvkatasvili@gmail.com.
I recognize that email.
And then it's supposedly to Pepijn van Earp. And then you just want this first part read in, Jim, for
Please.
him? It says, Mr. Earp, you want to write an article on Professor Santilli's new chemical species of magnacules, question mark, question mark. Come on. You do not have the knowledge. In the event you and Mr. Kahlo had a minimum of science in mind, you would repeat the measurements first before blabbling. At any rate, comma, I provide it below in the event you are not scamming. And then it looks like the letters YT and then underneath JV. Well, Katasvili is misspelled, but it is Kadesiv. B-I-I.
There are many English translations of the Russian Cyrillic language, so it's perfectly normal. The misspelling perfectly normal.
Okay.
So this is, I'm very proud of it.
Let him talk. Let him ask you a question, Dr. Santilli, and then you can answer once he's asked you a question about the document, okay?
I'm at your disposal.
Do you recognize that email that Mr. Parrish just read?
No.
Okay. Did you direct someone else to write that email?
I said I don't know the email. How can possibly direct somebody else on an email that I don't know?
Okay.
The question is not pertinent. We are wasting our time at Tony level. Can we go to the substance of the lawsuit, please?
Do you agree with this email that Mr. Van Earp and Mr. Kahlo don't even have a minimum of science in their minds?
I agree fully, because the HHO article deals with the post-PhD in chemistry, new chemical species based on a new mathematics, isomathematics. But Kahlo is an engineer who has been commissioned by Arthur Robin, David Epstein, Arthur Robin, David Epstein, Mark Bernstein, the editor, the controller, I should say, not editor, of my article in the Wikipedia. They commissioned, among the many, they first commissioned the lady that the lady that wrote the fringe on my, do the profile on me, and then to support the slanderous article on me at Wikipedia, It is known, this has been uncovered by an investigative committee, investigative agency hired by the International Committee of Scientific Ethics. Then they commissioned Carlo to attack me so that they had additional evidence against my research, to knock down my research. And the point, however, is that Carlo is an engineer in the engineering department. So first of all, he has no knowledge in chemistry, at least to make any, certainly not on post-PhD, but totally, fundamentally new chemistry. Professor Gaidishvili knew this, and so he smelled this is very rotten situation. I think his language was excessively moderate in treating this type of misconduct, controlling science by slander, and therefore controlling American science by foreigners via slander and deformation, and that's why we sued.
And you would agree with, as Mr. Parrish pointed out, the email address for J.V. Kadiashvili is spelled the way we've seen his name spelled elsewhere, but that the signature is spelled JVKADESIVBII.
I repeat again, just what I said before, his own email is in Cyrillic. And when you translate Cyrillic into English, there are many different ways, Cyrillic. So, so this question is just a waste of time. Attorney, I beg you, I want to go home. This is not pertinent, you know. We are wasting time on spelling.
Have you ever seen
Mr. My God.
Excuse me, Dr. Santilli, I haven't finished my question.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Have you ever seen Professor Kadiashvili's name spelled Kadesivbii?
I've seen many different spellings. Even in Russia, I've seen many different spellings.
Have you ever seen his name spelled Kades?
No, I've never. The first time I see this email, he couldn't care less. He made the automatic translation from Cyrillic to English. He didn't even check it out. It's irrelevant. What's the value of this for the lawsuit, which is on slander and deformation that I suffer for 7 years? What's the connection of this misspelling in the translation of Cyrillic language? 7 years of slander.
Dr. Santilli, I think we'll be done more quickly if you let me finish my question before you answer.
Yeah, but you...
Will you just let me finish my question, then we can move on?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay. Have you ever before seen Professor Kadiashvili's last name spelled Kadesivbii?
Mr. Lake, it's the second time you ask me a question. I already provide you the answer. I believe this lady is very smart and the fiction is already there. I repeat, I have seen the misspelling of Professor, I remember word by word. I have a strong memory, thanks God. I have seen the spelling of Professor Kadiashvili, it's not misspelled, it's been spelled in different, sometimes maybe a mistake. But I've seen in different misspelling because there are different spelling, not misspelling, spelling from Cyrillic to English, assuming that you know what the Cyrillic language means. Then you will see that the conversion is not unique.
I understand that you have seen other spellings. My question, though, is simply a yes or no question.
No, I've seen many, not this one, but I've seen many other misspelling in different countries. You go to Russia and you will see another misspelling. You want me to tell you the third time? I mean, Tony Parrish, we are wasting my time here. I'm starting to get nervous, and I must confess, it's something relevant, I will cooperate, but I need you to intervene with objection, not continue this thing. This is nonsense.
I think he's done with that question.
Yes. Dr. Santilli, the dates of the emails we've been discussing begin April 1st, and then the most recent one was dated April 12th. Do you recall any correspondence within either the Institute or the Foundation in which you were involved discussing how to respond to Mr. Van Erp?
I need the year. You missed the year. I'm sorry. Please tell the year in which you refer those dates.
I believe I said that
no,
it's
you did not say the year.
April 1st through 12th of 2012.
Now I hear the first time 2012. No, this many years have passed by.
Okay.
No, I have no recollection.
Let me show you a document we've marked V109, and I'll give a copy to Mr. Parrish. Oop, sorry.
Again, this purports to be another email with the same subject line as before. It looks like it's alleged to be from Pepijn Van Erp, and it's to Kurdzie B. Kedishvili at the email address jvkedishvili@gmail.com. The content states, "Dear Professor Kedishvili, thank you for writing me in person. My purpose in writing the article is to give a decent overview of the different theories concerning HHO gas, and of course to be able to present the evidence in a fair way, I would like to give the different authors a fair description. That's why I wrote to the IBR and Santilli Foundation in the first place, because I could not find your CV. I would be most grateful if you could send it to me. I already got the list with publications you provided me in your email, but it's lacking the information I'm most interested in. Your background as a scientist, simple questions like where are you from, where did you get your education, where did you get your PhD, what's the title of your thesis, and so on. I wouldn't think these are very hard questions to answer, and I hope you can provide me with that kind of information. With kind regards, Pepijn Van Erp."
Have you seen this message before, Dr. Santilli?
First of all, this message could be totally fake. It originated from Van Erp. A person who has been put in writing to be a liar. We have evidence that eventually when Attorney Parrish will give me the word, I wanted to introduce him. He's been thrown away from society for cheating, lies, for fraud. I have documentation. So this is it is very damaging to you to show this document, believing that it is true. It could be a total fabrication. Assuming that is correct, that is true. Assuming that it is true, why those insidious questions? Why those insidious questions? To a guy that was in the middle of the war in Georgia, and the horrendous personal situation. And
Dr. Santilli, my question was just, have you seen this document before?
I could not have seen it because because I question the very validity of this document. This originates from Van Erp. I believe in nothing. The man has no credibility except slander, defamation. That's all he does. He has zero. We're talking about an extremely advanced post-PhD work supported by experimental measurements that were under attack by this guy. And you expect Professor Kedishvili is, oh yes, oh I obey you. Here is my life. This does not happen in real life. I'm only surprised that he even answered. He contacted the guy.
Dr. Santilli, my question was simply, have you seen that document before? Yes or no?
No, I've not seen this document, but assuming that I've seen it, I cannot possibly remember. After many years, I could not possibly remember to see an email. I could not possibly. So the question is very insidious. Why? Because you can come up with a testimonial from Van Erp saying, no, I testify that Professor Santilli saw this, and so you accuse me of lying under oath. That's what you're after. Is that what you're after? Using people such as, with the level of human value, such as Van Erp and Israel, to testify, oh no, Professor Santilli does. And then Wikipedia immediately on my article, Frank Israel claims Santilli is lying. That's what you're after me. But you're after American industry, you know, by doing so.
Let me show you a document we've marked Exhibit V110 and ask you if you recognize this.
Again, oh my God. This is getting too long, Attorney Parrish. I need to know your legal opinion, whether this is pertinent. No, I'm getting serious, Attorney Lake. And you have to tell me whether this is pertinent to the lawsuit or not. I need your professional opinion, Attorney Parrish, whether this is directly pertinent to the lawsuit or not, because this is an abuse of my time. I feel being under harassment.
Dr. Santilli, what I'm telling you is that Mr. Lake has wide latitude to ask questions in discovery, and if it in any way could lead to discoverable evidence. And so because of that, and with that, if there is any peripheral to the ability to lead to discoverable evidence, then he has the right to ask the questions. And so what I would say is that he probably would have a very good argument that there is in some way an ability to have this document lead to discoverable evidence, and therefore he could ask those questions. So at this point, what I would say is he's asking you yes and no questions. Just answer them yes and no, and then if we have an objection to the document later, then before it was entered in for trial, then we can do that at that time. Okay.
Thank you for your view. But you see, there's a question of extremely serious. He asked me if I've seen an email of 5-7 years ago. Now, how can I possibly? So this is extremely serious. Number one.
So if you don't know, you just say, I don't know.
No, number two. Number two, it is clear that this cannot lead to any evidence of any value for the reason of the lawsuit, which are slander and defamation. It has nothing to do with Kaliashvili. There is no connection.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you if you recognize document 110, and perhaps Mr. Parrish could summarize it for you or read it to you. It's pretty short.
This is purported to be an email with a subject line request for information about Professor Kaliashvili. It purports to be from Santilli Foundation with the email address board@santilli-foundation.org to allegedly Pepijn van Erp. And it states, I confirm you appear to need some medical attention because you asked for the CV of Professor Kaliashvili while you have refused to provide yours. You really think we are that stupid? All additional emails we may receive from you will be trashed hereon. There's no signature as to the person that actually sent this email.
Thank you, Richard. He's a good guy. Yes, indeed. I agree with the content fully.
Okay.
I never seen the email, but I agree with the content 100%.
And
you refuse Van Erp because he has no...
Dr. Santilli, will you just let Mr. Lake ask you a question because you're providing information that he's not necessarily asking at this point.
I apologize.
No worries.
This thing is getting... when I see that... that's okay. I try to control myself.
Okay.
Since we had a moment ago V106, an email from the Santilli-foundation.org address with Richard Anderson's name at the bottom, it sounds like you suspect this email also came from Richard Anderson?
I do not know.
Okay. But you agree with it, whoever
I
said it.
agree with the content, yeah, indeed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're on TV too.
Husband and wife.
Let me show you a document we've marked V111 and ask if you recognize that.
Dr. Santilli, this is going back to it's a purported email that's going back to the subject line, ERP's Serious Science, spelled C-I-E-N-C-E, or blabbling. And it purports to be from Kerdsey, and that is K-E-R-D-S-E-Y B Kaliashvili, with this email of jvkaliashvili@gmail.com to allegedly Pepijn van Erp. And the content says, it is evident you have no intent nor the knowledge to do science, and your aim is political. Therefore, I am here terminating any contact with you and pass all the correspondence to the attorneys of Magna Gas Corporation. I provided you the scientific reference. You write whatever you wish, and we will judge thereafter. I suggest you abstain from wasting your time with additional emails to me. And then there is the initials JVK.
Do you recall seeing this email before, Dr. Santilli? Okay.
I agree with the content, however.
Okay.
And you heard my son that following the conclusion of this lawsuit, Gas Corporation will likely sue. Well, it's excellent news for you, Attorney Lake. You will make lots of money with all the one lawsuit after the other.
Dr. Santilli, just stick to the answers to the question, please.
I'm sorry.
Who is Richard Cox?
I have no knowledge.
Okay. Was there ever a member of the International Committee on Science, Ethics, and Accountability named Richard Cox?
Not to my knowledge, I do not know.
Okay. Was Richard Cox a pseudonym used by the International Committee on Science, and Ethics, and Accountability?
I do not know.
Okay. The committee's website is at scientificethics.org, correct?
That is correct. I initiated that website.
I'm sorry, you edit?
I initiated.
Oh, initiated.
I initiated the website.
Thank you.
For the record, I was a member until I became a CEO of Gas Corporation. At that moment, I terminated all affiliation to the International Committee. It is written on the website itself, and since that time, I have not been part of it. But my emails, some of my emails have been published by the International Committee with my name. When I do something, it carries my real name. Il Grande Grido, you showed the book the other day, carries my name as the author.
Okay.
I don't use pseudonym Tony Lake.
Okay.
It's a sign of weakness. I don't do that. I don't need to.
But you are part of the group that uses the pseudonym.
Originally, yes.
I'm sorry, let me finish the question.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I have to control myself. I am sorry.
You're part of the group that uses the pseudonym Luca Petronio, correct?
Not now. No. Since there's been when I became a member. For the record, the National Committee of Scientific Ethics was organized under my initiative. This has been my personal childhood, because the corruption, scientific corruption, in the United States of America and the rest of Europe was excessive.
Objective for the last question.
Okay. Let me show you an email we've marked V112. I have a copy for Mr. Parrish. And I'll note there's a small amount of text in this exchange on the back, but my question is going to be about the top of the first page.
Is there a portion that you need me to read to him?
Let's start with just the first paragraph.
Who is the author, if I may ask?
Sure. Let me give you the whole details of the document so far.
Thank you.
This is an alleged email through Gmail with the subject line, "The Returned Defecations." And then it looks as if it is from a Richard Cox with an email address of cox6797@gmail.com to Pepijn van Erp. And then it says, for the first introductory line and paragraph, it says, "Dirty man," comma, and then in the first paragraph, "Professor Ketesvili provide you quite nicely various scientific information and references on Professor Santilli's magnacules and their industrial applications, and also invited you to be a part of their forthcoming course on hadronic mechanics. And you answer with this filth below. You are a dirty, filthy, puking man in great need of some legal fixing, for which Our committee has been set forth and fully funded. That's what we do, fixing human filth in science. And here is part of the action going on to fix you. That's the first paragraph.
I disagree with the language.
Okay.
This is not my language. I live a notch above. And however, I smell here some stockholder of Magna Gas Corporation. This will keep this because maybe you may need this in the future.
Okay.
In the event Magna Gas Corporation indeed will initiate legal action.
Do you know why a stockholder of Magna Gas would have been a member of the International Committee on Science, Ethics, and Accountability?
Until I was part of I can tell, they're public knowledge. I can tell the names of the International Committee, of the initial committee. It was Professor Gregorios Yannoussis, full professor of physics, University of Patras, Professor Asterios Tsagas, T-S-A, Tsagas, chairman of the board of Thessaloniki University, Professor Jack Lomos, senior member of Estonian Academy of Science, and many others, and then there were others I cannot mention. Those are known. Those are known. They put their signature in their email. Since I left the committee, I know that there have been an increasing number of members who are really dedicated to science and want to be part of it.
Okay.
That's all I know. But I do not know now the actual names of the participants.
And do you know if any of the people you've mentioned as being members were shareholders of Magna Gas?
I do not. Certainly, I do not know. But
Okay.
at that time, when I was active, none of the Magna Gas was non-existent. So there was no point in that. The question is mute.
Okay, so
and after that, I do not know.
Did Magna Gas not have shareholders in May of 2012?
No. What do you mean?
Well, the date of this email is May 1, 2012. So my question is whether there were Magna Gas shareholders at that time.
It could be. Oh, yes. No. That time, no. But that's why I mentioned before. This could be some stockholder. Could be a stockholder of Magna Gas who became part of the committee, and it could be. I'm stating so, but I have no evidence whatsoever. I do not know who is the author of this email.
Okay.
And again, it's protected by the VPN outgoing system and the SEE incoming, and all under the IT. If you look at the IP, is the IP of the server itself, which is pair in this case, but not. So this letter could have been written anywhere in the world, by using that email, exactly the email.
Let me show you one last email, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, because I'm really getting tired on this.
This we've marked V113, and again, my question is just going to be: take your time, take a look at it, and Mr. Parrish can help, and then I'll just ask if you recognize it.
This is a purported email from Gmail with the same subject line, ERPS, serious science, or blabbling. It's alleged to be from Kurtzy B. Kadisvili, email jvkadisvili@gmail.com, to Pepijn van Erp, Wednesday, May 2nd, 2012, and the content states, forwarded to Richard Cox at the ICSEAA and attorney of law firm for response to harassment by an anonymous, a pseudo-academician or academician who refused to provide his CV or any serious identification but keeps harassing me to release my CV. He must daydream of belonging to a superior Aryan race with me being his servant. And then there is no signature.
What's the question? What's the pertinence of this to the lawsuit?
Well, my question is just: do you recognize this email?
The same as the other. It was not addressed. It was not. I'm not CC in this letter.
I'm sorry, the last.
I have not been CC. I have
Right.
not received this email.
Okay. I understand.
And assuming that I received not necessarily this, my secretary would have trashed it immediately. The
Okay.
answer is no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with the R.M. Santilli Foundation website?
To a certain extent, yes.
Okay. Tell me what you know about that.
I know that it's dedicated to me, to my research, and to the example of my life, which is based in joint the pursuit of basically new novel scientific knowledge, while jointly addressing problems of ethics in science.
And who operates the R.M. Santilli Foundation today, if you know?
At this moment, I don't know. There have been many websites. There was many webmasters. At this moment, I should inquire before I can ask. But I know that a number of them, 2 or 3 have changed. One went away. Another one had to leave for family problems. So there have been. Honestly, I would not. Not without a search, and I
Okay.
would not be able to answer. And
Do you know who owns the domain name santilli-foundation.org?
I should do a search to answer this question. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's public knowledge. You just check the pair, and they will tell you.
Okay.
Public knowledge is nothing. It's not a private program.
Okay. Let me show you V114. I'll give a copy to Mr. Parrish. I'll ask if you recognize, well, maybe, Joe, if you can describe it to him. I think it's the whois data for the domain name we've been discussing.
Dr. Santilli, this is an alleged document from whois.domaintools.com, and it looks to be a search for on the domain of santilli-foundation.org. And then it says the registrant is Thunder Energies Corporation. Is there other things that you want me to read off of here?
Well,
oh, it says tech contact was Ruggero Santilli.
Does that refresh your recollection, excuse me, as to who owns the domain name santilli-foundation.org?
It is a public knowledge. I have to just click on the computer, do a search, and you get all the data.
And then that's what I did. So,
Yes.
you agree you're the technical contact for that domain?
No, until I go and do the search. There, I don't trust I don't trust this document. This could be a paste up. And certainly, I will not answer you based on this. So, without doing a search personally to the actual document, I will not answer your question.
Okay. Do you recall whether you've ever been the technical contact for the domain santilli-foundation.org?
Yes, that I know, because the domain names were this I know.
Okay.
This is the case, for instance, of the domain name for the scientific ethics. I created, as I said, I am the originator of the International Committee, very proud to be the originator. At the beginning it was under my name and with my telephone number. But after that, when I withdrew completely, also for disagreement with, there was a disagreement within me and other members because of the language, because we don't want to use, we are scientists, and use of non-kosher language, I cannot agree. I cannot agree, so I withdrew. But then the domain was moved to different ownership, but it took some time. And it is the same for the Santilli Foundation. Those domain names had been moved through the years, so without doing a search, without having a webmaster providing the evidence. There is no answer that I can possibly provide you, and it's insidious on your part to ask me the firm statement, yes or not, on a highly technical issue pertaining to the domain name that are already public knowledge. They are public knowledge. So I see that your intent and the desire and dream to frame you something that then you, with a testimonial, say he lied during oaths. That's your intent, Attorney File. That's your intent.
My name is Lake. And
I'm
sorry. I'm really not supposed to answer questions.
I had an attorney. I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
It's quite all right.
I apologize.
Just one other question about this. I think this is the phone number we heard 2 days ago, and I just want to make sure, is your cell phone number still 727-688-3992?
Yes, indeed, it's my phone number.
Okay. And just for the record,
I'm
reading
it to you
from V114.
Attorney Lake, this is it.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Let me show you a printout, I should say, of the homepage at, the news page at santelli-foundation.org. See if you recognize that. Here's a copy for Mr. Parrish.
Yes, I do recognize this page. Indeed, I contribute to this. Is the part of the foundation in which I do. Yes, I do contribute. Yes.
Tell me.
Not all of it, but
Sure.
But I am a contributor to this. The information contained in this page.
So you write articles for it, for example?
No,
No?
there are no articles written in this page. This is a list of reference intended to provide to all scientists all over the world free PDF downloads of papers dealing with specifically on my studies. So most of them they carry my name in the title. Okay. Written by authors in 3 different continents.
And you provide links to articles?
I provide I send the PDF to the webmaster, and the webmaster then uploads the PDF. You see all of them, they are uploaded in the Santilli Foundation doc, Santilli Foundation doc, and then the title. And then he listed them chronologically. But not over some of them are sent directly from the author, so not all of them. Actually, perhaps the majority is from the author, but I am a contributor to this list, yes.
Okay. It looks like a number of the links, in fact, the first 4 links on this are to pages on a different website, Galileo Principia, or Principia,
Principia.
Thank you, Principia.org. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, what is that website?
That is a website that in which has been brought very repeatedly to my attention by various scientists that deals precisely on three of the primary objects that are at the foundation of the current crisis in science. And as three parts: a debate on Einstein gravitation, a second part, a debate on the neutrino conjecture. Incidentally, it's Fermi. It's an Italian conjecture by Fermi. And the third is a debate on the 20th century cosmology.
Okay.
Since I worked extensively in all 3 fields, and I'm proud to say that I am a primary, perhaps I am perhaps the most critical of all 3 fields. I'm consulted repeatedly by both the editorial board and by Poster. So. Is
there a particular individual who runs the Galileo Principia site?
Not to my knowledge. There is an editorial board. And there is an email. You're welcome to write. There is an email. Contact them.
Okay.
So you can do this open to everybody. We're in America. It is democracy. There is no name. There are no names there. Otherwise, I will not collaborate. And then they're purely scientific debates.
Do you know the names of anyone who's on that board?
I repeat again, I have no knowledge of details. All editorial boards are highly secret.
Okay.
So if you ask me something that is internationally known to be a secret, and even if I have a name, it will be a nickname, a pseudonym.
Okay. Do you recall any pseudonyms of people who are on the board at Galileo Principia?
No.
Okay.
I've never been, I've been only contacted by the editor anonymously from that email, which is, I don't even remember the email, but it is listed in each one of those 3 debates in the top. There is the same email. I've been contacted by assigned editors, the editors plural, and or by other scientists from all over the world who have posted both critical. I believe they are very scientific, because there you can see both poster in favor and poster against. So it's a due scientific process without names, without slander and defamation, which are the reason for this lawsuit that you still do not address, have not addressed in 2 sessions of deposition. 2. You have not addressed the reason
Dr.
for the
Santilli,
lawsuit.
let him ask a question and then just answer that question.
Thank you, Attorney Pepijn.
Have you provided documents from this lawsuit to Galileo Principia?
What document? I have no document. That only the public. I know that the public domain. I know that there has been a committee that has put up the money to get the public documents from the federal court, which are available to the public. And then after getting those documents, they created a website. Namely, they put those documents in their website, but those are public documents, and that what I know. I saw nothing wrong of it. This is America, and.
Have you posted any comments regarding this case on Galileo Principia?
No. However, there are a number of posts that carry my statement with my signature. You see, but the post is from that. There are people who contact me, scientists, I should say, from all over the world. They contact me, Professor Santilli, could you please express your view on this point? I say, this is my view, and that I send an answer to my email. I said, you are here authorized to post my email with my full name at the bottom. You'll see several of them. I am the primary authors of both 3 debates, so they contact me from all over.
Let me provide a copy of V116, which I think is what you've just described to us, but I just want to make sure we have it in the record. Is this the, and Mr. Parrish should certainly help, is this the portion of Galileo Principia concerning this lawsuit?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, I recognize it because I looked at it yesterday night.
Okay.
But however, this is not an updated version, Attorney Lake, because yesterday night, as I noticed that this post, from this post all the way to, I don't remember where, but they've been removed.
Okay.
So this post has been removed.
And I'm sorry, the number you're pointing at is post 22?
Is the post, is the post that speaks about your notice, in which you accuse me of fraud. And this post I noticed has been removed. You should check it out, Your Honor. Just for your own information, check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for the record, I think the post Dr. Santilli is referring to is on page 15 of 18, post 22. And as you say, Dr. Santilli, this is a post that appears to be discussing the expert report in this case from Maria Womack. Is that right?
I object to the word expert. She's not an expert in new optical instruments, none whatsoever. No,
Okay.
she actually has no. For your knowledge, this will be treated in details with the jury. The definition of an expert in science is a scientist who has a record of publications specifically in the field. If you have no record of publication in antimatter, you are not an expert in antimatter. She is absolutely not qualified.
All right, well, I'll just refer to it as a report then.
As reported, okay, that I will accept.
This post concerns Professor Womack's report, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And it appears there was a link to a copy of the report as part of this post. Did you see that?
From what, if I remember, it's no longer there. So, so we're talking about. But to my recollection, there was a link to the report, but the report was in the website of this. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how Galileo Principia obtained a copy of Professor Womack's report?
I have no idea, but I can make some. For the only way, well, the only way for Galileo Principia they must have a copy, a physical copy of the actual report to put a link in their website. But this is in my opinion, this is a clear attempt to assassinate my reputation, because this is the moment because of your personal claim that you personally accepted, so you are co-responsible, that I committed fraud by selling for a few $1,000s. Totally, look at this at Tony Lake. Extremely complex, brand new telescopes, selling at but not selling at the same price of the Galileo telescope. So there are a number of people, particularly Arthur Rubin, David Epstein, Mark Bernstein, extremely anxious to write in my page and the Wikipedia. Santilli has been accused of fraud, extremely anxious. I suspect that they removed this once they suspected that they received this document probably from California, from the originator of the money who is paying you.
I'm sorry.
My opinion.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the last word.
It is my opinion.
But from California at the what?
The issue is who is paying your fee.
Okay.
So the opinion I heard around is a rumor, unverified rumor, but it's very plausible that the people who are paying your bills are not Israel and those are penniless. You are paid by American money to defend foreigners interfering in American science. That's what you are doing. But it is the opinion they heard. What I heard around that the people who paid you who are extremely anxious to qualify me as a fraud, they put it there. So by this thing, Attorney Parish, by this thing I had the double punch. First I had the punch of being publicly accused of fraud, which is available here. But then immediately the stockholder wanted to sue the Attorney Lake and this is true, and Attorney Lake and Miss I don't know her name, Warmack. And now they don't have the evidence anymore because it's not public knowledge. So it's been a double punch. Incidentally, for your knowledge, I am against it. I told you at the beginning I want to open an olive branch to you. I have no intention of suing you. I don't have the time. I have no time whatsoever.
Santilli, let's just stick to
yes,
the
I don't have the time for these things. So in any case, the case is over because it's no longer a public knowledge. However, I recommend to revise that notice and remove the word fraud, because that word may cause all sorts of problems. Also, investigative committees. I have no way of saying the council, because we will respond. I'm not alone. I have thousands of stockholders in my back and thousands of scientists who identify themselves. They will respond to something so unjust. Again, let's see the injustice. The claim of fraud, I want it on record. The claim of fraud accepted by Attorney Lake, I pronounce it, an author, perhaps under suggestion from people providing money, paying his bills from America. The claim of fraud is that we sold, not me, he accused me of fraud for selling. I sold nothing. So this is false per se. It's a totally false statement in an official proceedings at the U.S. federal court. That is a violation, in the opinion of many stockholders, a clear violation of the ethical rules of the Board of Association. I hope, I pray that you recognize that, at least for your own sake, that I want to protect. Yeah, sincerely, my opinion. But the accusation is that the Thunder Energy Corporation, a U.S. public company, is accused of fraud for selling extremely complex, new for a few $1,000s, namely not at the same price of the Galileo telescope, while those being prototypes. So I'm talking, they were not sold at the same price of the telescope. Sorry if I go too fast. The accusation of fraud is that Thunder Energy Corporation sold a few prototypes of fundamentally new optical instruments produced in prototype for the first time in history, today called the Santilli telescope. The Santilli telescope should have been sold at the same time, at the same cost of the Galileo telescope. Now, the reason for the violation of the ethical rules of the Bar Association is that the Galileo telescope is sold in tens of thousands of units, while the Santilli telescope is sold is a prototype. There are few prototypes. Just my salary alone that I worked on this project without pay. Incidentally, I'm not paid in cash by Thunder Energy Corporation. I'm paid in stock that I cannot sell because of restriction. There's another story. But only my salary alone in two or 3 years is over $500,000 for salary alone. But then there is the cost for designing, the tooling, then manufacturing, all those costs in China. Let's restart. All the costs in China, they are for design, tooling, then constructing, testing, shipping, custom. Those are all costs in those prototypes produced in China, all costs in China. Then when they arrive in the Thunder Energy Corporation, is a full-fledged corporation, has all sorts of expenditure done in USA. Just the cost of the rental of the unit, the rental, then the secretary work, and then of course administrative, accounting, etc., etc. And then only you see this. I want to in the record indicate that this telescope only also have a camera. Each telescope has a camera. Now those are cameras for astrophysical observation. Now it is very well known by everybody that Canon camera for astrophysical observation, they cost $5,000 each. Just so only the camera alone of those telescopes are a multiple of the invoices issued by Thunder Energy Corporation. So the case Tony File is smashing against you. But I understand you were requested by the guy who paid you to put the word fraud at the end of that report. That's what we believe.
Dr. Santilli, may I ask you about the last post in this exhibit, V116? It's post 28. And I'll read it to you. Obviously, you and Mr. Parrish have copies you can refer to. I just want to ask you about some sentences here. We'll go through them.
Go ahead.
The first sentence is, I believe that the slanderous attacks of Santilli's research by Frank Israel and his associates of the Dutch Skeptic Society, done via illegal SEO techniques, assuring their appearance at the top under Google searches, constitute one of the darkest moments of science, for the evident reason that said attacks have propagated throughout the scientific community, by therefore assassinating at birth any desire to pursue basically new scientific knowledge. Did you post that comment?
No, but however, I've written a number of times very, very similar to colleagues around the world. They've asked me, and I've written very, very similar line. Lots of my emails are sometimes copied identical or re-elaborated.
Do you?
I agree with the content, 100%.
You agree with the content?
Absolutely.
Do you recognize the words as being pasted from an email you sent?
No, because I made all sorts of mistakes. No, I don't think those are. This is my. Also, the style is very nice, better than mine. Mine is for equations. So the English seems to be better than what I do.
Let me ask you about the next sentence. The dishonesty by Frank Israel and his associates is easily proved by the fact that, for instance, they support the search for dark matter and dark energy even though considered fake sciences. And then there's a citation to a debate on cosmology website. Because they are compatible with Einstein theories, while they attack as fraud Santilli's search for antimatter galaxies because violating said theories. Do you agree with that?
Yes, this you can you see in some of my letters with carrying my name in the debate on cosmology, you can see a very similar statement.
Okay.
Not but the statement which is namely that Einstein fanatics. They support the dark energy, and I mentioned this even before, almost the same word, but it is in a number of my emails carrying my signature. It is true. Namely, you look at Wikipedia, Arthur Rubin, David Epstein, Mark Bernstein. They are great supporters of dark energy and dark matter, even because they are compatible with Einstein. But they go to Santilli research, which is beyond Einstein. I'm defamated in any possible way. So this is a suppression of scientific democracy at the very, very heart of what we consider American civilization. And that's why my wife, Carla Santilli, and we filed this lawsuit. But now I want to have it on record that we filed this lawsuit and are spending the money with full knowledge from day one that will never receive 1 penny worth of financial compensation. So why we spend all this money and time to sue? Because we care about the United States of America. Attorney Lake, do you also care?
Let me read you the next sentence, Doctor, so we can move on here. This gloomy scenario, and again, I'm reading from post 28 in Exhibit 116.
But careful, in your interest, careful that this number has been rescaled now. I don't remember the number now.
Yeah, I'm using the numbers that are in the exhibit.
Oh, okay, that's correct, yes.
This gloomy scenario is reinforced by evidence apparently gathered by an investigative agency, according to which Frank Israel and his Skeptic Society acted under a mandate from Arthur Rubin, David Epstein, and Mark Bernstein at Wikipedia Google Complex in support of their slanderous, quote, article, close quote, on Santilli to prevent the acceptance of his broadening of Einstein theories. That sounds like something you wrote, doesn't it?
Not in those terms, but very, very similar to the. I am on record because of smashing evidence that those 3 individuals have attacked me, because those are known as Einstein fanatics, okay. and they attack me. Now there is one word that Tony Parrish that later on when we have our time, I want you to ask on one word that is new. I've never seen it around. Namely the Wikipedia dash, from, if that's correct, what you read at Tony Lake, Wikipedia dash Google complex, because there is apparently a participation in what's going on against America, also from not only from Wikipedia but also from Google. And I want to elaborate and provide some evidence on this, because all these things Tony Parrish will appear during the trial. We want to present them to the jury.
Okay.
Let me ask you about the next sentence in this post. As it was the case for the Roman Empire, I fear that the United States of America have lost their world leadership at its peak because Americans have permitted the, quote, organized cartel on Einstein and its liberal associates to achieve control of academia, news media, the U.S. president, including President Trump of lately, the U.S. Congress, the Federal Reserve, and the Nobel Foundation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, unfortunately, I fear and pray God to be wrong. There is a post in the Scientific Ethics. I don't remember which one, but it was years ago, in which I expressed precisely very similar fear under my signature, because I believe using a pseudonym for me is a sign of weakness. I don't do that. So you'll see very similar statement, actually much longer list of reasons why I was worrying for America that I love, a country that I love.
Okay. The next sentence says, said control is then used for dictatorial anti-American aims against the hosting society, as it happened 5 years ago in Spain, 1 century...
Not 5 years ago in Spain. No.
I'm sorry, 5 centuries ago in Spain. Thank you. 1 century ago in Germany in the USA with the Manhattan Project that resulted in the biggest blunder of the judicial systems because the messengers of the treason, the Rosenbergs, were caught, convicted, prosecuted, and executed, but the real perpetrators of the passing the atomic bomb secrets to their brothers in Russia, the physicists of the Manhattan Project, were never prosecuted, exclamation mark. Do you agree with that?
I disagree. I deny any connection. I am against this type of statement. This type of statements. Remember, my grandson, my son-in-law is Jewish. My best supporter are Jewish. I am a Christian. I am against anything. This is a recall, essentially a condemnation of the Jewish, not of the Jewish community, of a minority of the Jewish community, those that are called, Zionists, that acquire power in Germany, and you know what happened after that. Then the same happened in Spain, and then they were thrown out. In Germany, you know what happened, the Manhattan Project. So those are very, very extremely serious historical notes that I want to have. No, as a Christian, I don't even want to. I am against any form of no. However, to help you, because I offer you an olive branch. This seems to be the same language of the other document you showed me before. The one that says the organized, what's the say? I forgot. Organized Jewish scientific crime at Harvard. Organized Jewish scientific crime at MIT. Organized Jewish scientific crime at American Institute of Physics. With all documentation of that. It seems to be the authors of that. This seems to be in the line. I see a connection of the two, very clear connection. But I want to disconnect any. If I had authority, I will have strongly denied the appearance of this. There is no need to.
Okay.
There is no need to.
Real quickly, Jim. I've just been notified that the actual notice for Chris Anderson's deposition was at 3. Obviously, we're not going to get there.
3 Eastern?
Let me see.
I thought we did 4 Eastern, 3 Central, because he's in Niceville.
Right. Oh, okay. It says, say, 3 p.m. CDT. Let me just, yeah.
Do you want to take a break? And
just like a 5-minute break so I can get everything cleared up with my office.
Let me finish with this post.
Sure, of
And
course.
then we can, take a break.
Go ahead, please. This is very important what you are addressing.
Thank you.
Tony Lake.
I just want to finish up with the sentences in this same post. The next one says, Ruggero and Carla Santilli have been the sole Americans I know to date who have opposed the conduction of science, by the organized cartel on Einstein via slander and defamation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, indeed. I mean, I believe nobody else has sued those people for slander and defamation. We are the only one on record. The other, Eugene Malone was assassinated. My former colleague, Arthur Harp, he was so disappointed by the corruption. He left America. I think he even abandoned it. He's dead now. He's one of the few Americans who gave up his American citizenship because of the collapse of the disgust of what's going on in science in America because of those interests that want to control science by defamation and slander.
The last 2 sentences of this post flow together, so let me read you both of those, and then we can take a break.
Please proceed.
Other Americans in academia and elsewhere have supinely accepted the systematic assassination of scientific democracy, either because of illusory gains or because of complicity via silence. But then it is written in history that people have the institutions they want or deserve. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, there is a warning. Democracy are very, very fragile. We know. I was born under domination by the Nazi. I still carry wounds in my body, but German shrapnel. Democracy are very, very fragile. America is at the edge of the American institutions are collapsing. See, there is no respect of the position of presidency. Etc., etc., etc. So I do agree with the extreme regret because I love America, but I'm afraid that unless American react to reestablish scientific democracy in the most vital, important function, the science, democracy in science. There is no question about that. America. I would like to make a concrete case. If I am allowed to, if in the event you care about America, because you have to care about your customer, the people who pay you, But I would like to make a particular concrete, one among many concrete episodes. You want me to do it or no?
My only question is to whether Mr. Parrish, he'd asked about taking a break. So I'm happy for you to do that before or after the break.
It's okay. Maybe you can ask me later.
Okay.
You can ask me later. Good.
All right, we'll go off the record.